Excellent. Dean Thompson, you can go whenever we're ready.
Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to this virtual overview of the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech. I'm Keith Thompson, the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs. I oversee all undergraduate issues in the College of Engineering. I'm joined today by Dr. Marlena Lester, who is the Director of Advising for the college. Marlena oversees the advising efforts in the college. Today we're going to cover a variety of topics to introduce you to the College of Engineering and begin the process of preparing you to be a student in our engineering, computer science, or building construction programs. There's a lot of information in this presentation, but it is going to be recorded so that you can review it later on. Also, a lot of this information is going to be reiterated in later activities that you will undergo during your orientation and first year at Virginia Tech. Let's go to the next slide. First, I want to note two things about the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech. First, we're ranked number 13 overall in the nation for undergraduate engineering programs. Some of our specific majors are ranked even higher, such as civil engineering and our industrial and systems engineering programs. So this is a high quality campus that you're coming to. There will be a lot of opportunities for you to participate in many great activities, such as student engineering competition teams and undergraduate research. And you will find many employers who value our graduates and come here seeking students to hire. That's also going to come with high classroom expectations, which I'm going to touch on later in this presentation. We're also 7th largest producer of engineering and computer science graduates in the nation. There will be slightly over 10,000 undergraduates enrolled in our college this coming fall. That size is what allows us to offer many of our high-value experiential learning opportunities, but it can also feel very overwhelming to be one student out of 10,000. You might feel a little lost at times when you're in our campus. While we have some very large degree programs in our college, we also have some smaller ones such as mining or material science and engineering that have a more personal feel to them. So you will have options to find a program that feels like the right size for you. Let's go to the next slide. As a student in the College of Engineering, there are many people available to provide support for you. The Academic Affairs team oversees many of the student processes such as course withdrawals, change of major, approvals for undergraduate research, and so on. Additionally, each of you will be assigned an academic advisor to help you select courses and point you in the right direction should you encounter any issues that require campus support office or specific process to resolve. Shown on this slide are the various members of the academic affairs team. We also have many academic advisors that would be too many to show here. I'm not going to introduce everybody, but we do have a website where you can find out the various what we do for students and with access to different resources and lots of other things to help you out. Let's go to the next slide. So the College of Engineering offers 14 baccalaureate degrees. We have 12 engineering programs, we have a computer science program, and then there's a building construction program. The 12 engineering programs and the computer science program are restricted degrees. What that means is that you're going to need to fulfill requirements before you are allowed to enter those programs. Students pursuing any of those 13 degrees start in our general engineering program, and you typically complete about 1 year of study covering foundational courses that are used by all of those degrees. Once you complete that first year curriculum, and if your grade point average is at least 2.0, you're eligible to request matriculation from general engineering to one of those restricted degree programs. Admittance to those programs depends on the space available in the specific program you're requesting and your GPA. So typically you're going to want a stronger GPA than 2.0. 2.0 is roughly a C average. You're going to want better than that. Our building construction program is the college's one non-restricted degree program, which means that you can begin in that program immediately if that's what interests you. Let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to spend a bit of time mentioning some of the expectations you will encounter as a student in the College of Engineering. While we have a lot of people in the college and at the university who are here to support you, this support has to be requested. We don't monitor you in such a way that we know if you're having a problem on any given day. We don't know if you've gotten sick and need to miss class. We don't know if you've encountered some other life obstacle that's impacting your potential to be successful. We don't have the capacity to do this when we have 10,000 students. So it's really important that you take the initiative to reach out and request support whenever you need help. When this occurs, the best place to start is usually your academic advisor. All of you are going to have an academic advisor who is assigned to you. If your academic advisor doesn't know how to help you directly, they can often point you in the right direction or reach out to other people like myself or Marlena to find the right assistance to get you the help you need. Regarding academics, the experiences you will have at a highly ranked college may be a lot different from what you have experienced in high school, or if you went to a two-year college, what you experienced there. The classes are typically larger, the content is likely to be more theoretical, there will be higher expectations around your ability to comprehend and apply complicated subject matter. Many of you are going to need to spend more time outside of class studying, and that should not just be right before you have a test, but should be something you do routinely every day. As a typical rule of thumb, usually you want to spend 2 to 3 hours outside of class for every hour that you spend in class. And so if you're taking 15 credits in a semester, which is a very typical course load, that means you're going to be spending anywhere from 30 to 45 hours outside of class studying. So that adds up to quite a bit of time overall. Additionally, your instructors are likely to have more rigid class policies than you might be used to, especially those that have a lot of students in their courses. They need to keep that course on track and moving on a specific schedule. So they can be very rigid about assignment deadlines, and they might have very specific expectations about the formatting of the work that you have to turn in. Each class is going to have a syllabus that will outline the expectations for that class, how the grading is going to occur, what the schedule looks like, and so on. It's very important that you read that syllabus to understand what those expectations and policies are, and that you're paying attention, especially during that first day of class, when the instructor goes over the expectations for the class. Furthermore, Virginia Tech has an honor code. This is taken very seriously. Make sure that you understand what boundaries your instructors have around collaborative work, especially around the use of generative AI and that you might use to help with writing assignments, or the use of online resources like Chegg or other study sites. The most common sanction for academic misconduct is an F-star grade. It's an F with an asterisk that follows it. What that is, it's a failing grade for the entire course, and the asterisk that's next to that F indicates that that F was given because of academic misconduct. Repeated misconduct sanctions can lead to suspension or expulsion. So this is something that you need to be very serious about when an instructor is going over what their expectations are around collaborative work or the use of different resources in their class. Make sure you pay attention to those. I have 5 pieces of advice for you as you're trying to do this transition to college. Get really serious about time management. Figure out a schedule that allows you to manage your days, both your personal needs like getting laundry done or anything else you need to do, taking care of your health, as well as the significant time commitments you're going to need for your courses. Consider getting a calendar or making up some sort of a calendar to organize what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. 2, start all your assignments early. Do not leave them until the night before. If you start them early, that's going to give you time to figure out what you know how to do and what you don't know how to do on an assignment. And if you figure out what you don't know how to do, then you can go to the professor's office hours and ask questions to try to figure out how to get the assignment done. 3, find reliable and serious study partners. This is going to help you understand material better. It can also help you stay on track. When you have other people that you can work with on your classes, then you can ask questions of them. They're going to ask questions of you. You're going to explain things. This is going to make you understand the material better. You're also going to be talking about the things that are due, and that's going to help keep you on track. 4, track your grades. Make sure you know what your grade is in your class at any given time. And there will be a learning management system for all the classes called Canvas, which a lot of the instructors use to post class materials. They'll also post the grades in there. And Canvas will tell you a calculation for your grade, but don't just rely on that grade that's posted in Canvas. Make sure you read the syllabus, find out how the final grades are calculated, and do your own independent calculation of what your grade is. And 5, and this is the most important thing, do not hesitate to reach out for help if you are struggling. I can say this last part from my own personal experience. I was a smart student when I first went to college, but I had no idea how to study, and I had a tendency to try to handle all things on my own. I now recognize as an adult that that was a mistake. I did fine overall, but I could have done a lot better had I been less stubborn about reaching out for help. So my last piece and most important piece of advice for you is to reach out for help whenever you think you might need it at all. Let's go to the next slide. So when the university needs to contact you, or when we're sending out communications about important deadlines or reminders, we're going to use your official vt.edu email account. We don't, this is our primary way to contact you. We really don't have very good ways that we can do it otherwise. Make sure you check your vt.edu email daily, even when you're on break, winter or summer break. I will admit that the university sends out far too many emails. All universities do these days. But there will be important messages in there, so make sure you take the time to check those emails, identify those ones that are really significant for you, and you're paying attention to the content in those emails. Let's go to the next slide. For the parents who are with us today, we recognize that you're making a significant investment both monetarily and emotionally in your students' education. So I want to say a little bit about the best way to be a partner in your students' journey. This is a time for students to move up significantly in their responsibilities, in their independence, and their accountability. This is another important learning thing that happens when students are in college, figuring out how to take care of themselves, how to self-advocate for themselves, how to reach out for help on their own and manage their own time are essential skills for moving into a professional career while also managing your personal and adult life. Help encourage your students to do this. Let them try to do things on their own. However, at the end of each semester though, make sure you check in with them on their grades and academic progress. Try to make this a safe conversation, but it is important not to have academic struggles sneak up on you or the student. There might be a need for some candid discussions about whether a major is the right choice, or how a student is approaching their study and work at college, or maybe obstacles that are happening that are impeding the real potential of a student to be successful. So try to let the students grow and do things on their own, but do make sure you have that check-in after the end of each semester, just to make sure that things are on track. Let's go to the next slide. We have constraints on how much we can discuss student issues with families. This primarily comes from the Federal Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. This is a federal law. We work with students, not parents. And FERPA, the Federal Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, prevents us discussing academic matters with people other than the student, even to the point where we can't confirm whether a student is enrolled at our college or not. We can have these discussions if we have a student's permission to do that. Students can grant this permission. When they do so, a code will be assigned to the person who has that permission that's been granted. We call this the FERPA code. This process happens through Hokie Spa, and we have some instructions up here on this slide about this. There's also going to be some additional information about how this is done. But have a conversation with your student about this type of access and what they're comfortable with, and make sure that you, if you expect that you might have to make a call and ask some questions on behalf of a student, then you probably are going to need that FERPA code in order to do that. Let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to go through one last set of topics before I turn this over to Marlena to handle the rest of this virtual orientation session. I'm going to go through several slides talking about different resources we have on campus. As I mentioned before, the College of Engineering Academic Affairs team maintains a website that lists various resources and support. You can see a clip of that website on this slide, as well as the website address and a QR code to get to that website. But I'm just going to run through some of these different resources in our next few slides. Let's go to the next slide. So our first avenue of support is the academic advisor. This is the best resource to reach out to when you're having any type of problem. Appointments with advisors are managed through our Navigate advising software system. And you're going to want to become familiar with this, especially during this orientation period when you're going to need to do class registration and have a meeting with your advisor at some point. Let's go to the next slide. The College of Engineering also has a computer requirement. Last week we offered a virtual session on the computer requirement. This was recorded and should be available to you if you wish to review it. You can also find all this information on the different websites that are listed here. We also have a team that's called SWAT, Software Assistance Triage, and they can help with any computer issues that happen while you're a student on this campus. They can even lend you a laptop if you have computer problems that make your personal computer unusable to you. So this is an important resource to be aware of. Let's go to the next slide. Virginia Tech has a physical counseling center that's located near the campus called Cook Counseling Center. And we also contract with Timely Care, which is an online counseling system organization. I highly encourage students who begin to experience any type of mental health challenges to make use of these support units. So if you find yourself feeling depressed, having a hard time getting out of bed and attending classes, that's a good indicator that something's going on and you should reach out for some support or therapy. Let's go to the next slide. Related to this, the Dean of Students Office is a very good support unit to go to if you are experiencing any type of family or personal life disruption. The Dean of Students Office can provide absence verifications if you need to miss class for some reason. They have emergency funds if you experience financial distress, or they have a food assistance program as well. And they can offer a variety of general support for any types of problems that might happen. They're especially good if there is maybe a family death or something like that that impacts you emotionally and makes you need to miss. Students Office is very well connected with other support offices on campus, and they can help identify and connect you with different resources that can help you out for any variety of different issues. Let's go to the next slide. If you were on an individual education plan or had accommodations of any type when you were in high school, then I strongly encourage you to register with the Office for Services for Students with Disabilities, or our SSD office. They will review appropriate medical documentation, which you'll have to provide to them. They'll make an assessment of your learning needs, and they can authorize accommodations to provide a level opportunity for you to be successful in your courses. The accommodations are not necessarily intended as an unfair advantage to any student. They're intended to create a level learning opportunity for all students. Let's go to the next slide. We also have a student health center located on campus. You can access this whenever you get sick. Prior to starting as a student, you're also going to need to submit a history of your immunizations to them. If you don't submit the immunization history form, they will place a hold on your account that can make it difficult for you to register for classes. So please make sure you complete that step of your admissions process. Let's see, let's go to the next slide. We have a Student Success Center. They have tutors for a lot of different classes on campus. They have a peer mentoring program, and they also offer courses on learning strategies and other things to help you become acclimated to college. So this is another good resource to be aware of. And then let's go to the next slide, and this will be my last slide before I turn this over to Marlena. We also have a career and professional development office. There will be numerous career fairs every year on this campus where employers are going to come, and there'll be an opportunity for you to find out about companies and apply for internships with those companies. We highly encourage students to do an internship or some other career building activity while they're an undergraduate student. The Career and Professional Development Office can offer a lot of assistance in securing jobs, though they can give you help on writing a resume. They can do mock interviews with you. If you don't have a suit, you can check out business attire for them, from them, for when you have to do an interview with a company. So that is my last slide. I'm going to turn this over to Marlena. I'm going to hang out, but I'll have my camera off.
Excellent. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this engineering orientation, the virtual academic advising and course registration process for the College of Engineering. So if you're joining us live, thanks for being here. If you're watching the recording, I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to give you an overview of some of the content that you will be experiencing over the next few weeks. Of course, first is this College of Engineering overview session, and we also will have some Q&A sessions. And like Dean Thompson mentioned, we hosted one last week with our computer support. We'll have another one today with Hokies Shops at 3 o'clock, and you can see that full schedule on our orientation website, and I'll have the link in just a moment. In addition, you'll have the opportunity to work with an academic advisor, and then of course finalize your class schedule through course registration. One of the biggest things that we also want to kind of showcase today is the timeline for orientation. So back in May, early May, everyone would have received kind of a College of Engineering welcome email that came through our admission system called Slate, and it came from me directly. And it directed you to something called the Engineering Orientation Checklist. That checklist is designed to give you a very comprehensive list of items that you need to complete. So if you do find the Engineering Orientation Checklist on our orientation website, you can see the link below on this slide. That's going to really help you kind of stay organized, know what you need to do, and it's everything from setting up your username, adding your email to your phone, how to set up two-factor authentication, and then it gives you a step-by-step kind of guide of all the things that you'll experience during this orientation experience. Around June 6th, that's when you would have received a specific email from academic advising. So that would have came from the program that you are currently admitted into. So if you are admitted as a transfer student, that came to you from the department that you were admitted into directly. If you were admitted as a building construction student, first year or transfer, that came from their program. And if you were admitted as a first time in college general engineering student, you would have information about how you work with an advisor in their program. So if you've lost that email, please go back and look through your Virginia Tech emails for that around June 6th. There's also a generic sample of that message and the May 6th email on the orientation page, which is just that www.eng.vt.edu/orientation page. So you can go back and look through that timeline and all those details that you'll see here on the screen. One of the other things that we just want to make sure that you're familiar with is between June 11th and July 25th. That's when you are going to attend mandatory virtual academic advising for your major. Some programs are going to have one-on-one advising, and some programs are going to have group advising. And so, dependent upon the program that you're admitted to, programs may also have a group advising session and then one-on-one advising. So, you'll definitely want to go back and look at that June 6th email for your specific details for one of our 14-degree programs. Between June 11th and August 29th, that is your opportunity to register for your classes for fall. We are only focused on your fall classes during this process. You'll do spring classes later in October. But for registering for your fall classes, this is an ongoing process. You can and you should start registering for classes as soon as that registration opened last week. You can also work with your advisor and then register for classes. But you have all summer to register for classes, so you just need to be patient if you're waiting on AP scores or dual enrollment or your transcripts to be processed, because class registration is open through the first week of classes in August. You also will want to attend, of course, this session, which is the mandatory virtual College of Engineering overview session, and then those optional sessions that I mentioned earlier. Those optional sessions that you can attend, I have a list of those on this page here. So we had the computer requirement one last week. Today we'll host one with Hokie Shops, which is our Virginia Tech bookstore, Hokie Centric, and other apparel options that you have for buying clothes and stuff at Virginia Tech through the Virginia Tech Hokie Shops area. We will host one about peer mentoring, career support, and study abroad. So if you cannot attend live, though, we will post those recordings on the orientation page. Barring any technical difficulties, we'll post the link where you'll see the Zoom link right now. We'll put a link for the recording there, and you will see the recording from last week's session out there on that website. On that orientation page, it also at the bottom of the page, after you pass the timeline, it's going to have links out to these resources that I'm covering today. So a link specifically to the orientation checklist. If you're a first-time in college student in general engineering, you'll have information about the ALEX placement there, a link out to our computer requirement that also emphasizes other resources and supplies that you need to bring to Blacksburg. We also have some information about the self-evaluation of transfer credit. So if you're unsure how your classes are going to transfer, there's some information there about AP credits, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We also will link out to the program requirements for you, and those are all published and out there. There's some specific instructions on how to do course registration. There's details for those of you who are in general engineering on how to change your major from general engineering into the specific department you want to go into, along with all the course requirements, GPA standards, and other details that you need to be familiar with. The resources and support page that Dean Thompson went over thoroughly today is also linked there, so you can see that. You should definitely bookmark that page. It's one of my favorite pages that I reference often. And then also some frequently asked questions specifically related to this virtual academic advising and course registration process. All students also received an invitation to join a Canvas site that reiterates some of these details. Some programs will have a Canvas site that might require you to do a quiz before you can meet with your advisor. For transfer students, your Canvas site is labeled COE Virtual Academic Advising and Course Registration. For those of you who are admitted in general engineering, it's called the General Engineering Virtual Advising Canvas site. And for all students first time in college or transfer, you have a building construction virtual academic advising and course registration page. And so you'll be able to see those details if you go into Canvas. And if you've not accepted your course invitation, you'll be able to do that there as well. A few reminders that my portion of the presentation will cover is very important for your success in getting all the things you need to get done in order to successfully register for your classes. And one of those items is making sure that you send your transcripts and score reports to Virginia Tech. You need to send all your official high school, college, and score reports, university transcripts. If you're coming from a four-year institution, a two-year community college, it doesn't matter, high school, all of those transcripts go directly to the Office of Undergrad Admissions. And that's where they'll come from the place that you took those classes to Virginia Tech. So your high school will send them to Virginia Tech, or if you went from a Virginia Community College, they will send those to Virginia Tech, and they go to the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. You will also want to make sure that you send all years of your official score reports for advanced placement, IB, CLEP, Cambridge, any kind of additional credits that you might be experiencing directly to the Office of University Registrar. And you'll use their school code that we have listed here. But you want to also make sure that you have your scores bundled if you took multiple years of scores. So, for example, if you took advanced placement classes or AP in your sophomore year in high school or your junior, you want to make sure that you request College Board to send all years of your scores to Virginia Tech so that those can display and show on your official records here at the university. So, speaking of transfer credits, if you are unsure about how your classes are going to transfer in, if you are a transfer student on the call with us today, you will be able to submit your self-evaluation of transfer credits on our engineering pre-orientation form. That is a requirement for all transfer students, regardless of discipline. For first year students, you should also complete a self-evaluation of your transfer credits and have that available when you're meeting with an advisor. You don't have to submit this, but what you are able to do on that self-evaluation of transfer credit page off the orientation is you're able to see all of the equivalency charts, the guides, the databases that you need in order to determine what your Virginia Tech equivalency of those classes are going to be. So you can see charts for advanced placement, you can see charts for the Virginia Community College equivalencies, or if you took classes at another institution outside the state of Virginia, and if those classes had been previously evaluated, you would be able to also identify how those classes are going to transfer to Virginia Tech. Once those classes do transfer to Virginia Tech, we do also want to remind you that it is your responsibility for making sure that your records are accurate and updated. You can verify all your process scores and transcripts on Hokie Spa, and that's going to be for college transcripts and score reports. So you can go into Hokie Spa, you can go into your grades menu, and then you click transfer and other additional credits. And that's where you'll be able to see if Virginia Tech has received your AP credits, your dual enrollment, your high school, not your high school transcripts, but your college transcripts, all there on that Hokie Spa page. You can also see a notation that if we need more information about how to evaluate a class, it'll have a notation beside that course to send your syllabus to credits@vt.edu. So if you see that there, then that does mean that you'll need to find the syllabus for when you took the class at the community college or other four-year institution, and you'll need to send a syllabus to that credits@vt.edu web address so that we can get that information to evaluate your credits for Virginia Tech equivalency. On that orientation page, we also link out to you the program requirements or the roadmaps. And so if you go into catalog.vt.edu, you'll be able to see all of the department requirements for your degree. And one of the pages that I personally like a lot is the one that's called Roadmaps, that lays out the classes that you need to take for your entire duration at Virginia Tech. The roadmaps are going to list the classes you need to take. You can also click on the course and it gives you any prerequisites, co-requisites, and information about the course. This is going to give you details about our pathways to general education courses that you need to complete, the degree course requirements, your major classes, any elective classes, and you'll be able to see all of that in that roadmap and under those additional tabs for program curriculum and graduation requirements. So the requirements for you are determined based on when you enter the university. And so, and for fall 2025, we actually just got an update that all of those are updated. So you'll be able to use the undergrad catalog for 2025, 2026. You can see those now. You can also do something called a degree audit that we'll talk about in a little bit. But your degree requirements are kind of comprised of really four major areas. You have your Pathways to General Education courses, which makes up about 39% of your credit hours that you take for your entire time at the university. And so that's going to be your Pathways 1 through 7, and you'll be able to note more information about that on your roadmap. Your degree core is about 24%. Your actual major is 22%. And then any electives that your program may require is going to be about 15% of your curriculum. And so we are always going to recommend that you have 15 to 17 credit hours a semester to ensure that you're graduating within 8 semesters if you're a first-time college student. If you're a transfer student, we're hopeful that you'd be able to graduate within 3 years. And some of you may graduate sooner, but that's kind of the typical stance on recommendations. The credit hour ranges for our curriculum across all 14 of our degree programs is going to range between 122 credits and 129. So you'll be able to see all of those details on your specific roadmap. In addition, this is so exciting for me in the world of advising and the university. Right now, as a new student, you can if your credits have been processed, your transcripts have been processed, you can run a degree audit report of all of the classes that you've completed, and it is called a degree audit report. It's an electronic report where all of your classes that you've previously completed and what you still need will show up in their degree audit. And your degree audit is a way that our university checks to verify that you're going to complete all of your degree requirements prior to graduation. And so this is the first time in the history that I've worked at Virginia Tech that we've been able to have that available at orientation, which is fantastic. So you can start running your degree audit. If you're a transfer student or building construction, you can go in, apply for your degree on Hokie Spa, and that then allows you to request your degree audit report. If you're a student in general engineering, a first time in college student in that program, you can request a different degree audit. It's called a what if DARS until you're officially in your program. This particular detail, I know it's a lot of information, but it was outlined in the orientation checklist. And so you'll be able to go in there and find specific links to all these details so you can go back and reference that if you need to do so. So course registration, of course, once you are working, you can meet with your advisor or you can go ahead and start registering for classes. Course registration is done on Hokie Spa. There's a course registration schedule menu that you can go to. Course registration, again, is open from June 11th all the way until August 29th. So you have plenty of time to get your classes situated. So if you're waiting on advanced placement classes, you have plenty of time to register for a few classes now, and you can register for the remaining once those advanced placement comes in. You go into the add drop system and you go into your schedule piece there. A couple of reminders about registration that often gets a lot of questions this time of year is about major and course restrictions. So when you are registering for your classes, and there are video tutorials and details on that orientation page that can take you to any additional documentation that you might need to help support you with that process. But some of the courses might be what's called major restricted. And major restricted means that only students officially enrolled within that major or a set of majors can enroll. And so you can click on the little CRN or the information about the course title, and it will give you information specifically about if that class won't let you add, why it won't let you add that class. Maybe it's a prerequisite, like we're waiting for your transcripts to be processed before you can add the next class. Or maybe it's a class that's reserved for certain majors only. The piece of advice I have there about the major restriction, though, is that not all sections might be restricted. So you want to click through multiple sections of classes to ensure that you can enroll in that particular class, or if that one's not permitted for you to enroll in. You also want to utilize something called the timetable of classes to search by term. If it's a pathways, you can also filter out your search for the pathways category, so you don't have to look through every class to see what is the pathways. It allows you to do a drop-down menu and search for your general education classes. You can search specifically by subject, the course number, the CRN number, and you can also look for course modality on that timetable of classes. All of that will show up in the search results on the far left-hand side. If you do click on that little CRN, it's like a digit for, it's like a number right beside the class. And that's where you can view the prerequisites, the co-requisites, and restrictions. And so that's really helpful. You will have to go into your Hokie Spa system for that registration piece, and you will also be required to complete some prepare for registration items before you can begin registration. So things like emergency contact and those kinds of details that you'll need to complete. I also want to give you a few little reminders about when you are registering for classes. You want to make sure that you are enrolled in at least 12 credit hours. 12 credit hours is required to be a full-time student at Virginia Tech. Full-time status is required for students who live on campus, if you receive financial aid, if you're an international student here on a visa, or if you're an NCAA athlete. So 12 hours is the minimum in order to be considered a full-time student. We are always going to recommend in the College of Engineering, a typical schedule is going to be 15 to 17 credit hours. Some students may have more than 15 to 17, like a core cadet student, you might have up to even 19 with your core cadet classes, but typically that 15 to 17 credit hours is going to be what we are going to recommend. 19 credits is the maximum that any new student can register for, so there's no ability to over enroll as a brand new student at the university. Once you are registered for your classes, you go in, you either work with your advisor, you use the roadmaps, you use the degree audit, you can go into registration. Once you've done all of that and your classes are kind of finalized, One of the pieces of advice that I would share with you is that you should go into Hokie Spa. And then when you go into Hokie Spa, which is our student information system, you can go into something called the Classic Student Schedule, and that allows you to see the classes you're officially registered for. It gives you the course CRN, that number I mentioned earlier. It gives you the course prefix and number, the modality, the type of class, like the title of it. It gives you the grading scale, credit hours, the times, the dates, the location, and you can click on the location to see exactly what building that is in, the instructor, and also your final exam schedule. So you'll be able to see when your final exams are. So you definitely want to make sure that you are checking your final exam schedule before you plan your departure from the university at the end of this fall semester. You want to make sure that your final exam schedule has been evaluated first before you make any travel or flight arrangements, because your final exam is not always on your last day of classes. It's a completely different schedule for final exams. You also want to verify your exam schedule with your instructor during that first week of classes to verify that that matches what's in the system here for your final exam schedule. There's a few upcoming dates and deadlines. This does not have every date for the fall semester, but I do want to remind you that the classes for the fall semester are going to start on August 25th. So you need to make sure that you are here in Blacksburg by that date. The last day for you to add any new courses is August 29th, and then also the last day to drop a course. So let's say you're in a class and you don't want to stay in that class anymore. You have all the way up until October 7th to drop a class. And we will talk more about these dates and deadlines as we approach the start of the fall semester. All of you, of course, on that pre-orientation checklist or that checklist of items, one thing that I ask you to do on that is to save the date for weeks of welcome, social, and college session. And so we'll talk a little bit more about those dates during that event as well. But all of the dates for the academic year can be found here on this URL. This is also bookmarked within that list of check sheet items to ask you to bookmark that on your website. If you are interested in staying kind of informed with us, you follow social media, I do want to make you aware that we have lots of social media for the College of Engineering, but also specific departments have social media. So if you are interested in following those, you will be able to find their social media avenues there and be able to either follow them on LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter or any of the other social media avenues. So a few final reminders from me, and then I'll turn it over to Q&A, but I want you to make sure that you are working to finalize your class schedule with those 15 to 17 credit hours. Your advisor is not going to register you for your classes. That is something that you will do with you'll get your advice from the advisor, what classes you should register for, but then the actual act of registering for classes is your responsibility. If you need to wait for prereqs to show up, those kinds of details, then remember you have all summer to register for your classes. For all of these details and more, you'll be able to see that on our orientation website for those degree requirements, those roadmaps, those resources and support. So if you go to the orientation page, all of those details are listed there. But also, students, please make sure that you have marked your calendar for the Weeks of Welcome College session. So that's on August 20th, 21st, or 22nd, and that all is dependent upon your specific move-in date. If you are a transfer student, there's also details there on the checklist that say for you, you'll attend on the 22nd of August. You will all attend the college social. That's on August 22nd. It's right before classes start. We have a great lineup of events for you. All of our departments will be there at a tabling event. We have some free giveaways. It's a really cool opportunity for you to meet other engineering students. So that college social is going to be on August 22nd. And so that concludes all of the things that we have for you today. We really appreciate you joining us today. And what we'll do is I will stop the recording, but we'll open it up to any Q&A questions you have. You can use the question and answer feature. And we really do appreciate you being here today. Thank you all very much.